Hello, everyone. Welcome to English Accenta, the channel that helps you speak English clearly, confidently, and with a natural accent. I am your English coach, and I am super excited you are here. In the shadowed valleys of Eldoria, where ancient forests whispered secrets to the wind, there lived a woman named Lyrian. She was known far and wide as the Wise One of Willowbrook, a small village nestled beside a great river that had once been bountiful, but now ran thin and weary. Lyrian was no queen or sorceress with flashing spells. Her power lay in the quiet depths of observation, the patience of roots delving into earth, and the courage to speak truths that others feared. Born under a blood moon some 60 winters ago, Lyrian had been orphaned young when fever swept through the valley like a silent thief. The village healer, an old woman named Thorn, had taken her in, teaching her the language of herbs, the rhythm of seasons, and the subtle art of listening, not just to words, but to silences. Thorn had said, "Wisdom is not in knowing everything, child. It is in knowing what matters." When Thorn passed, Lyrian inherited her small cottage at the edge of the forest, beneath the branches of an ancient willow whose leaves seemed to murmur in a tongue only she understood. The villagers came to her for remedies, a poultice for aching joints, a tea to ease childbirth pains, or counsel when quarrels festered like untended wounds. Lyrian never turned anyone away, though she accepted payment only in what they could spare, a loaf of bread, a woven basket, or simply a story shared by the fire. Her eyes, the color of storm clouds, saw deeper than most. She noticed how young Tomas flinched when his father raised his voice, how elder Mira's hands trembled, not from age, but from unspoken grief over a lost son. Lyrian remembered these things and wove her advice around them like ivy. But wisdom, Lyrian knew, was a heavy mantle. It isolated her. Children called her the willow witch behind her back, half in awe, half in fear. Young women sought her help to win a lover's heart, only to grow angry when she warned that love forced was no love at all. Men laughed at her refusal to marry, saying a woman alone was incomplete. Yet Lyrian had loved once, a traveling bard named Rowan who sang of distant seas. He had stayed one winter, filling her cottage with music and laughter. When spring came, he left, promising return. He never did. The pain had carved a hollow in her heart, but it also taught her that some things could not be held, only cherished in memory. In the year the river began to fail, everything changed. It started with small signs, fish floating belly up, crops yellowing at the edges. Then the rains stopped entirely. The river shrank to a muddy trickle, and the wells dipped lower each day. Panic crept in like frost. The headman, a broad-shouldered blacksmith named Garrick, called a council in the square. "We must act," he bellowed, his voice carrying over the anxious crowd. "The old gods have turned from us. We will sacrifice the finest bull at the stone circle and pray for rain." Murmurs of agreement rose. Sacrifice was tradition. It felt like doing something. But Lyrian, standing at the edge of the crowd, felt unease coil in her belly. She stepped forward. "Honored Garrick," she said, her voice steady though her heart hammered. "A bull's blood will not fill the river. Look upstream. The beavers have built dams higher than ever before. They block the flow, thinking only of their own needs, as creatures do. If we destroy the dams, the water will come." Garrick's face reddened. "You would have us war with beasts instead of honoring the gods? Woman, your place is with herbs, not decisions." Laughter rippled through the men. A few women shifted uncomfortably. Lyrian bowed her head, retreating. She had learned long ago that wisdom shouted was wisdom ignored. That night she walked to the whispering willow. The great tree's branches trailed like sorrowful fingers into a dry stream bed. She pressed her palm to the rough bark. "What shall I do, old friend?" she whispered. The wind stirred the leaves, and for a moment she thought she heard Thorn's voice. "Know what matters." The next day, young Thomas came to her cottage, eyes wide with fear. "They're going to kill the beavers, Mistress Lyrian. Father says we'll burn their lodges. But the kids, the little ones." Lyrian knelt to his level. "And what do you think, Thomas?" He swallowed. "It feels wrong, like kicking a dog for chewing your shoe when you left it out." She smiled faintly. "Then we will find another way." Over the following weeks, as thirst tightened its grip, Lyrian worked quietly. She taught the children, those willing to listen, how to observe the forest. They learned which plants thrived without much water, how to dig deeper wells lined with stone to keep them clean. She showed women how to store what little grain remained, mixing it with wild roots to stretch it further. But the river remained low, and resentment grew. One evening, a delegation arrived at her door, Garrick and 3 elders, faces grim. "You have poisoned the people against tradition," Garrick accused. "The sacrifice was delayed because of your words. Now the gods punish us more." Lyrian invited them in, offering weak tea brewed from dried mint. They refused to sit. "I have not spoken against the gods," she said calmly, "only suggested we help ourselves while we pray. The beavers did not steal our water out of malice. They survive, as we must." Elder Mira, the trembling one, spoke up unexpectedly. "She helped me bury my son with dignity when others turned away. I will hear her." Garrick glared, but relented. "Then speak your plan, wise woman." Lyrian unfolded a rough map drawn on bark. "We do not need to kill the beavers. We can open channels around their dams. It will take labor, many hands, but the water will flow again without bloodshed." The men grumbled. It sounded like work, not glory, but thirst was a harsh teacher. Reluctantly, they agreed to try. The village turned out at dawn, men with axes, women with baskets to carry mud, children running messages. Lyrian directed them, showing where to dig, how to reinforce banks with woven branches. Thomas, proud in his new responsibility, guided groups to the upper dams. As they worked, something shifted. Laughter broke out when a dam burst sooner than expected, soaking Garrick to the waist. Women shared stories of past droughts survived through cooperation. By evening, water trickled stronger through the village channel. But triumph was short-lived. That night, a storm rolled in from the mountains, unnatural, violent. Lightning split the sky and rain fell in sheets. The river, swollen by released water and the storm, roared into flood. Homes near the banks were threatened, livestock panicked. In the chaos, little Sarah, Thomas's younger sister, was swept away while trying to save a lamb. The village descended into despair. Garrick pounded on Lyrian's door at midnight, soaked and wild-eyed. "Your meddling has brought doom. The gods curse us for sparing beasts." Lyrian, already awake and packing herbs for the injured, met his gaze without flinching. "The storm would have come regardless," she said calmly. "Flood follows drought as night follows day. But Sarah may yet live. The river bends at the old oak. Debris catches there. We must search now." Garrick wanted to rage, but her certainty stayed him. He rallied searchers. Lyrian led them with a torch, reading the water's patterns as Thorn had taught her, where currents slowed, where eddies formed. They found Sarah clinging to a root, half drowned but alive, the lamb tucked under her arm. The cheer that rose shook the storm itself. In the aftermath, as the village rebuilt, attitudes changed. Garrick came to Lyrian's cottage alone, hat in hand. "I was wrong," he admitted gruffly. "I thought strength was in loud commands and sharp blades. You showed it can be quieter." Lyrian poured him real tea this time, strong and hot. "Strength takes many forms," she replied. "Yours lifted beams to rebuild homes. Mine saw where to place them. Neither is greater." He nodded slowly. "The council, we would have you join us officially." She considered. Power tempted, but she remembered Rowan's departure, how closeness could become expectation, then chains. "I will advise when asked," she said finally, "but my place is here, beneath the willow, where I can hear what needs hearing." Years passed. The river ran steady again. Children grew, telling tales of the wise woman who spoke to trees and saved a village twice, once from thirst, once from flood. Lyrian grew older, her hair silver as moonlight on water. Still, seekers came, a merchant's daughter heartbroken, a farmer plagued by blight, a young man wrestling with anger like his father's. One autumn evening a stranger arrived, a bard with Rowan's eyes, though younger. He sang in the square, his voice carrying memories. Afterward he sought her out. "My father spoke of you often," he said softly. "Rowan, he regretted leaving. Illness took him far away before he could return." Lyrian felt the old hollow ache, but it was softer now, rounded by time. "Tell me of him," she asked. They sat by her fire as he shared stories, how Rowan had sung of a wise woman beneath a whispering willow until his last breath. When the young bard left, he carried a small pouch of seeds from the great tree. "Plant these where you travel," Lyrian told him. "Let them whisper in new places." Alone again, she walked to the willow. Its branches swayed though no wind blew. "I understood at last, old friend," she murmured. "What matters is not holding tight, but letting wisdom flow, like water finding its way." The leaves rustled in answer, and Lyrian smiled, feeling lighter than she had in decades. In Willowbrook, they still speak of her, not as a witch or saint, but as the woman who taught them that true wisdom listens, adapts, and endures, gentle as roots cracking stone, persistent as rain returning to parched earth. And beneath the ancient willow, whose descendant trees now grow in valleys far beyond Eldoria, her lessons live on. So, my dear friends, this is where our journey on this channel comes to an end. But remember one thing forever. Your voice matters. Keep speaking, keep learning, keep growing, because the world needs to hear what you have to say. Thank you for every like, every comment, every moment you spent here with me. You made this channel truly special. If you want to stay connected, follow me on Instagram or X at. I'll still share small tips there sometimes. Take care, stay confident, and keep shining. Goodbye for now. Thank you, and God bless you all.